So what I was saying recently while we were muted there was, and then Helen had just called the meeting to order. So my apologies. We've been talking to you guys and I had it on mute. So sorry
So
about that.
I will once again call the meeting to order, now that folks can hear me do so, and ask Cindy to call the roll.
Okay, Mark Barnes,
Here.
Kim Dietzler. Are you muted, Kim? We can't hear you. Give us a thumbs up.
Maybe she can't hear us.
There she goes.
There, it changed.
Okay.
I'm assuming you said here. Aaron Ginsberg,
Here.
Joan Greco Cohen, Latrice Johnson, Gerald Lander,
Here.
Helen Nelling,
Here,
Kathleen Simpson, and Cindy Zerwas here.
thank you. Our first order of
And
business,
from the library, Patrick Wall, Cindy Dykeman, and Carrie Bruce, and then
and then Representative Clay
yes.
was us. I would like to go ahead with the first order of business, which is to approve the minutes of the last meeting. Does anyone have any correction to those minutes? Then could I have a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting?
Move approval.
I would like to second that.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes of the December. It was the 14th, 2022 meeting. Cindy, could you call the roll?
Mark Barnes,
Aye.
Kim Dietzler. Can you hear us, Kim?
Kim?
Apparently not. Aaron Ginsberg,
Yes.
Joan Greco Cohen. Joan, are you there?
Yes. You can't hear me either?
Well, now I can.
Okay.
Gerald Lander. This is
Yes.
Helen Nelling,
Aye.
Kathleen Simpson. Aye. And Cindy Zerwas, aye.
Hey, the minutes are approved.
I heard that, Kim.
Okay, so I'm doing audio on my phone and video on my computer.
You're a technology whiz. Do we have any correspondence?
Carrie spoke to Margie Kessler, and Margie sent us a donation in memory of Langston Jackson, a longtime University City resident. So we received that. And then we received from former board member Larry Nolan and his wife Jill Nolan a donation awaiting the renovation to be completed.
Okay. Can you send me the addresses
Yes.
so I can write? Okay. Mr. Clay, can you enlighten us on goings on in U City?
I believe I can. Good evening, everyone. Wanted to follow up with a question that had been asked, and I was actually just emailing because regarding the number of UCityans hired at the Costco. City manager apparently did have a meeting, but Patrick, I don't know if he communicated with you. I didn't get the results of that meeting, so I was following up now. So I apologize for the delay on that, but I will have something this week. I'm not sure why that wasn't communicated back, but I will have something to share with the library board. As it relates to our more recent proceedings, we had a meeting on Monday. We had a rather lengthy study session, and appropriately so, on flooding in University City. So we heard from Dr. Chris, who's a UCityan member of the Stormwater Commission, and also a professor at WashU, and talked to us about the flooding situation from his perspective. And we also heard from the chair of the Stormwater Commission. So Dr. Chris and the Stormwater Commission listed some things that City can do to better prepare. And so the council will be undertaking those and directing administration to move on those things as appropriate. As you know, the flooding issue is a regional one. So the ultimate fixes are beyond City. But having said that, there are some things we can do and we can control. So we want to make sure that we are doing those things. We are engaged in a process of attempting to work with the federal government. I'll speak specifically to Centennial Commons. And we have other facilities, but that's the one I think people are most concerned about in the opening of Centennial Commons. The process we're undertaking is we're trying to get assurance that we will be reimbursed for any cost that we outlay for the renovation of Centennial Commons. It will be several $100,000, if not in the millions, to redo Centennial Commons. And if we spend the money and don't get the authorization, there's a risk we don't get reimbursed. I think candidly, we are reaching a tipping point, because I think everyone would prefer that we get reimbursed. I mean, because there is a mechanism by which we can, but as we start to approach, it'll be warm before we know it. As we start to approach, 7, 8, 9 months, we really start to have to ask, is it worth the wait? Because the federal government has given us no timeline. They haven't said that we're going to make a decision on the authorization in 6 weeks or 6 months or 6 years. We are just waiting. And we know the flood devastated many other areas. So we're at that point. We know it's been frustrating for citizens to have Centennial Commons closed. But we did want to try to be good stewards of the funds and see if we could get reimbursed, because it's not going to be insignificant. And also understand there are other facilities that we are trying to get reimbursed for as well. So it's not just Centennial Commons. But having said that, that's what people feel and that's what people see or don't see is Centennial Commons. So we're continuing to work on that, and I'll certainly update this body with any progress that's made. The final thing of significance that the council acted on was we are putting on we approved a 3% tax on recreational marijuana. So that is in line with what other municipalities are doing. I think you may be aware recreational marijuana was approved at a state level. And so it's up to municipalities to actually, rejigger their codes and do all kind of the nuts and bolts work of actually making it happen and making it legal within their jurisdictions. You may be aware that we have on Olive, and that's on the East Loop. But we do have in University City a medicinal dispensary, which is Starbuds on Olive, across from the cemetery. They are looking to dispense recreationally, and this is not a surprise to anyone. We knew that industry, the cannabis industry, was advocating for this, so that it's not a surprise. But we do need to put within ordinance an amendment to allow for recreational. So that's going through the process, and we will be taxing that as well, or we're planning to tax that. So those are the most significant things, but I'll entertain any questions at this point.
Mr. Clay, the
Yes.
Board of Elections called us the other day wanting to use the library for a polling place. we weren't able to, help them for April
Right.
because we can't guarantee we'll be open. But they said they didn't know if they would have anything, that they needed in August or November. It would depend on if municipalities were going for the 3% tax. That it would have to go ballot.
And I'm not sure, and I'm sorry, I think I was incomplete in my explanation. This then has to go to a vote of the people. We approved it, but
Okay.
because it's a tax, it has to go to the vote of the people. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure how the timing of that is going to work. I can certainly drop a note to Mr. Rose to follow up, but I'm sorry that I did not make that clear. It then goes to a vote of the people, but the council has to approve it first.
I got a question.
Yes.
Actually, questions. First question is, what, do we have a timeline for, the, Public Works Department to get back into their building? I talk to my recycling guy every week, and he's actually waiting on a new truck, but he says, the offices still aren't open. They're, and that's FEMA money.
So that's the other facility, the main facility that we're trying to get authorization for reimbursement on.
Oh, okay.
So again, I talk about Centennial Commons, but there are other facilities that aren't open, that were damaged in the flood that the city owns, but we've submitted
It's
a
part of the
packet.
same thing. It's part of the same thing.
Yeah, it's part of the same thing. So it's just not a good situation all the way around. And again, the council's gonna have to make a decision at some point, because we can't just have this stuff inoperable forever. I mean, we just can't.
Okay, Mark?
Yes, ma'am. Before you go on to your second question, I'm going to add to that question, and that also includes the swimming pool. Is that swimming pool also in the same consideration as the Centennial Commons? And I asked about that not only for personal reasons, but also the potential for us to partner with them for a summer reading.
Yeah. So if we do something soon, it's my understanding that we can still open the pool on time. It was damaged, as we all know. So when I talk about that inflection point, we are effectively at it. If we're going to have operations happening as they need to, then we need to make some decisions pretty quickly in order to be ready. So I don't have a great answer for you right now. But yeah, we've got to decide what we want to do. And it could be a gamble.
Keep us posted. My second question, and then Cindy also has a question. But in advance of my second question, I see Latrice is on the Zoom meeting. So Cindy, can you add her to the list of people who are present at this meeting?
Yes, thank you.
My second question has an easy answer. What are they doing on south of Del Mar, west of the Brentmore, where they knocked down those apartment buildings? What is that?
And that's the
I think
avenue.
that is. Go ahead.
Is that apartments or somebody said no, the Brentmore is expanding? What?
Mr. Clay, isn't that the Avenir project?
Yes.
And so what?
Those are apartments.
Apartments. So they knocked down apartment buildings so that they could build apartments.
These are newer, modern.
Yeah.
I think it's the same people who own the same group that owns the Gatesworth.
It is,
but it's going to be separate from the Gatesworth, and it's going to be high class apartments, I gather.
Not senior living or that kind of thing. Just apartment.
Not necessarily. I don't think specifically. No.
Okay.
And this was the one that several months ago we talked about. We're getting the pilots instead of the taxes on that one, the payments in lieu of taxes.
Yes, I just didn't know what it was they were actually doing. So, also, is there a timeline for the opening of the urgent care center on Del Mar?
That's a good question. I actually don't know. I know they've been working on it a long time.
Yeah.
as is our custom, I will send that to the city manager and copy Patrick. And
I heard
see if
staff
we can't get a response.
can't get the staff for it. That's why it's not open.
Wow.
Right. That's, the word on the street is they can't hire enough staff. The building is finished, but they can't open because they don't have enough staff.
Wow.
Oh,
Cindy, did you have another question?
Yes, I did. Thank you, Helen. Mr. Clay, does the council have an expectation on how much this 3% tax would bring in annually?
I'm not sure that we do, because recreational marijuana is completely new. Like, there's no local precedent. I mean, you could maybe look at Illinois and kind of, maybe see what they've done, but it's just new. We don't really have a lot of data as it relates to what the recreational market will look like. So the answer to your question is no. We don't really have a great idea of what it would be.
Thank you.
As a secondary follow-up question, same theme, and that is, did the council identify a fund stream or a funding designation for this new tax, or is it going into general revenue?
So the city manager mentioned targeting it to public safety and specifically education programs, kind of talking about let's face it, it's going to be recreational. It's going to be available. Now, I think you have to be 21 and over in order to partake, but it casts marijuana in a different light, that it's legal now. And so the education programs will be targeted towards youth to talk about the realities of it. It's, legal does not necessarily, as it does with alcohol, legal does not necessarily equal safe. And so it's important that we probably put some more money towards education for young people about the realities of it. So public safety generally is where the funds would be targeted, but education programs specifically. So, something akin probably to DARE, if you remember those programs.
Okay, another follow-up question, please, and that is the second and third order effects of decriminalizing marijuana means that it will be used more out in the open. It's not if you've ever been to Eden Park, it's not the most pleasant smell, or if you're making Metrolink like I do every day. But the question is, has the council considered any type of ordinance related to nuisance of smoking in public, at a public park, or
So
near where children are around, that.
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
and I don't want to get too far out over my skis on this, because I'm not an attorney, nor have I specifically studied the state statutes or anything. I don't think you can just smoke in public, akin to how you can't really be walking in the middle, walking down the street chugging a bottle of whiskey. Like, I think it's the same kind of circumstances that are appropriate. There are times and places, or certainly places, where you can have alcohol and consume openly. Again, generally not in the middle of the street is at one of those places. So I think there is a similar kind of provision. Now, having said this, I'm not versed in the law, but I think even in other states like Colorado, where it has been recreationally legal for some times, I don't think you can just walk down the street with a joint. Having said that, I can certainly find out more specifically.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Clay? Okay.
And there was, let me ask this. So the questions I'm asking are about equivalent, basically to Mark's question, open container is kind of the analogous scenario. We have open container laws that again prevent you from drinking in certain circumstances. We're looked at, is there something similar as it relates to marijuana use? I don't know what you would call it exactly, but that's the idea. There was another question though that I didn't get. I said I was going to follow up, and then whatever it was escaped me.
Well, one, we talked about the urgent care.
The urgent, yeah, well,
That's you're gonna, but that's.
but we think we
staff
answered
issue.
that, yeah. You're
Yeah, that.
at employment, U City employment at the Costco.
Yeah, that one's still out there. There was some. Well, maybe it'll come to me during the course of the meeting, but I don't want to hold things up any further. But I will find out about the quote open container.
And I'd be interested in knowing if, are those laws typically state laws, or those typically municipalities, or yes, or,
Okay.
And is the on the south side of Olive, across from Costco, is that indeed going to be a Dierberg's?
We're in the kind of in the throes of negotiation, but assuming everything goes to plan, yes.
When do they expect that to, what's their sort of guess now when that might be open?
I mean, I think we're assuming we can get the financials and negotiations buttoned up here in the next few weeks. I think a grocery store actually takes a fair amount of time, so I think we'd be into potentially 24 by the time everything gets squared away. So I would anticipate an opening in 24.
What about the outbuildings around Costco? How's that all coming along?
That's coming along. There have been some folks identified. I think there's been some conversation about Chick-fil-A, a few other restaurants kind of in that vein. But there's quite a bit. We did receive a list at one point in time that had everything that had been secured up to now. Some of it, I'm balking because some of those were public, some of those weren't. So I don't want to say too much, but I think the Chick-fil-A is known. I think there's a Raising Cane's. I think there's those are the two I know we can talk about. There are others that are not restaurants that are in the mix as well.
Any other questions for Representative Clay? Well, thanks for always letting us in on the scoop. We appreciate that.
Yes, absolutely.
The next item is the librarian's report.
Yes. So we have a consent agenda, including the municipal library consortium notes, library issues, our general financial reports, meetings and conferences, and grants and fundraising. I think we had some interesting bits on all of those categories. Did anyone want to pull anything out of the consent agenda, or just go ahead and approve that?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay. Do I have a second? Mark moved to approve the consent agenda.
I would like to second Mark's motion.
Okay. Motion has been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Are there any comments? Okay. Cindy?
Mark Barnes,
Aye.
Kim Dietzler,
Aye.
Aaron Ginsberg,
Aye.
Joan Greco Cohen,
Aye.
Latrice Johnson,
Aye.
Gerald Lander,
Aye.
Helen Nelling,
Aye.
Kathleen Simpson. Aye. And Cindy Zerwas, aye.
All right, the consent agenda is approved. May I suggest if anybody has anything they want to ask Patrick about that, they can do that offline.
Sure. Yeah, anytime. Yeah.
Okay.
On to discussion items.
On to discussion items.
Um,
Patrick wanted to report on the latest about our audit and
Yes.
our auditor.
And then that was only since the last meeting that the completed audit was accepted, was submitted to and accepted by the state. The auditor does have copies for us. The digital copies I already had. I just noticed that today when I went and scanned it, and then as I went to save it, I saw that I already had the digital copy, sent that out to everyone. I have the printed copy here, should anyone ever need that. The audit was also submitted yesterday to BOKF as part of our COP agreement. And the auditor let us know today when we were getting his information to pay the invoice, that if we have questions about procedures as we go through the year, any changes we want to make or any changes we think we should make, we can run them by him as part of our the fee that we're paying him. So it turned out to be even more of a bargain than we thought.
The next item for discussion is building projects. So I understand that there's a project going on. with
Yes,
the library.
we have quite a big project going on with the library. The big news is the revised official date is now the end of April instead, the end of March instead of the beginning of March. So that has us, having our soft opening in April, and then hopefully, if all goes well, maybe a grand opening at the very beginning of May, once we've got in the building, got everything working, and can put together a nice event with food, with some book-related events. Maybe the fire department will come out with their big trucks. And we'll have a balloon guy and some things like that, and other ideas that we come up with. We had a meeting with Bond and with Ranieri today. We met on 12/16 to iron out details on the remaining concrete work. Bond is now recommending that we sign that change order. We're going to sign the change order for the second one for covering the exposed masonry at the narrow windows. They had reduced the price on that from $4,723 to $2,889. Excuse me, I'll take this clip off here. There we go. So we had wanted to put some light poles, and we talked about this in building and grounds and budget and finance, so I apologize for repeating a lot of this. 2 light poles at the stairs. We didn't think that was crucial. So when the price came back at $16,000, we thought that was too much. We're going to look into other less expensive options once the power gets turned back on and we see what the lighting really looks like out there. We're still waiting for Ameren to come up with a date to install the transformer so that we can get going on getting the power in. Ranieri indicated they're just going to call Ameren every day until they get a date or till they get it out there. I think we've got pretty much all the electrical panel parts are promised and expected. They've changed some things around, so we should have power, for the opening. I think they're mostly in agreement, Bond and Ranieri, about the parts for the fire panel. We have a couple of missing parts on the access control panel. This will be for the automatic doors with the card locks. We figure we can still open without those, just using keys in the old fashioned way that we used to. Carrie, we just went online and found a wall covering for the gallery that neither Bond nor Ranieri could find. So, kudos to Carrie. It'll be the same sort of fabric we had on there before, but with a wallpaper backing, so that that solves the problem that Ranieri foresaw of outgassing from a strange adhesive and an unknown to them sort of wall covering. On the big ticket items, we still have the outside standing invoice from RG Ross for $31,000. Bond is not approving paying that at this point because of some excessive leakage, not even little tiny leaks, but water dripping from the wall in the last heavy rain. We received a preliminary quote from Infographics for our sign package. This will be all the signs in the library, like book return, nonfiction, children's fiction, that sort of thing. But also it'll be the 2 large lions with standing against sort of large books that will form the entrance to the youth services department. And that's about 25,000 for that sort of statuary thing. 25,000 of the 52,000. That's the line item thing is included in the packet on sorry.
That's on page.
What are those lions made out of?
There'll be
Is it like an architectural foam, I'm assuming?
I think it's a lot of it's going to be aluminum. At least the framework's going to be aluminum. I don't know what the covering is going to be.
Page 29.
Sorry,
Page 29.
excuse me, page 29. So we just got this the other day. And this will include the emergency exit door messages. A lot of hanging signs. You know, we've had discussions about this, so we haven't actually seen these signs yet. So we, you know, and this isn't an actual invoice at this point. We're supposed to have a meeting next week. So then we'll bring it right back to the board for approval. But it's going to be about that much. And they're going to want it says 50% deposit to start on it. And the time is getting short. They were going to have this to us back in November, and I don't know why it took this long. Between this one and the large thing for furniture, it's possible that at this point we're going to have a special meeting just to approve these two.
Yeah, because this one is a kind of.
Yeah, this one's 10 weeks, so we want to get this one done, but we really don't even have all the information on this one yet. Then and I can bring up the, let's see if I've got that handy. No, that is not the one, sorry. Now we're getting a little.
This, the price is quoted from graphics, include installation.
Yes.
Okay. And you're gonna make sure that the children's book, I know it's childproof from being knocked over, slammed into, everything. It's gonna be.
This is.
Yeah, we've got both that, and we didn't want it large enough for canoodling.
Yeah.
That sort of thing, so.
It's not a word I would use.
Yeah, but yeah, and we're in a meeting online, so.
Yes.
Can you see the executive furniture summary?
Yes.
So this is the other large part where we just got it and we don't have all the details. The $332,318 for furniture is in line with what we were expecting. What we'd like and what we've asked for a couple of times is a line item breakdown of this, how many of each item we're getting at how much. We're still waiting for that. And then the freight shipping seems reasonable. We were taken aback by the professional installation union, 100,000 for that. But then we were told that what this will involve is them coming over here, breaking down all the shelves, transporting them over, and then reassembling them for us, which is it is something that we were sort of unsuccessfully seeking someone to do. So that's great. So we're okay with this. We'd like to go ahead with that. The demountable walls, $100,000. This is budgeted. This was budgeted for. It wasn't part of the Ranieri contract, but it is something that was in the budget that we based the COP on, and it was always in Bond's proposal. So that's not unexpected. We just didn't know it was going to be coming from the furniture part. This last one, $126,000 to refinish our end caps. That was something we just started looking at a couple months ago. We realized we didn't have enough end caps that were in good enough shape to really fit in the new building. We were told that there's 2 other proposals that they have for us. We just haven't received them yet. So I don't know what to say about that. I don't think we want to spend $126,000 on that in that particular way.
None of these items are going to be voted on tonight.
Yeah, they would like us to approve it on Friday, say yes or no by Friday. I'd be comfortable saying yes to the furniture and yes to the demountable walls, because as I said, those were already accounted for. But I don't think we can do anything on the end cap.
So do you want to add these 2 things to the action items then?
If that would be okay, if the board would get sort of tentative approval, Gerald?
Patrick, I have a question I meant to ask in the building and grounds. With regard to the furniture, what's the delivery date? I know people have been waiting sometimes 4, 6, 8 months for furniture that they've paid for and bought. If we're talking about an opening on 3/30, we don't have very much time to get furniture.
Yeah, and that's why they want this the answer by Friday. It seems that we've been talking about this for a month. They could have given this to us a little earlier. A lot of the furniture is refinished. It should be in process. They've got that sort of scheduled to go. So they're assuring us that that'll be okay. The other pieces of furniture, the new furniture, we haven't heard anything about that. I'll definitely ask.
I would definitely see if you could get a delivery date on that. If
Yeah.
I would certainly not have any problems with Helen's idea of saying that having the board approve with Patrick's assessment of what they're going to do, and you're waiting for this actually line item thing. I don't have a problem with giving tentative approval to it, so that we don't have to, I guess, go on, because it may take longer to get this furniture than we think.
Yeah, I would hope it wouldn't, because they've been, good Lord, we've been talking about this for a year.
As much as that, probably as much as they care to say, but if we can give them the approval, then they're far enough out, we can do all of this for them.
Yeah.
Okay, then we will add under action items, we will add those 2 expenses.
Yeah, since they're not new budget items, they're just.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's move on then to the Secretary of State.
Yeah, just wanted to give an update on that. I sent out the Post-Dispatch. They published an article and they did a Freedom of Information request, and they got the link to 20,000 pages of comments, some of which were excellent. I meant to send out the one from the WashU law professor. I will do that. It's on page like 2,490 or something. But one of the other directors found it, and it was quite good. In fact, I have that here.
Yeah, I'd ask if, can you email that
Yes.
to us?
Yeah.
Because rather than just talk about the damage that this would do to libraries and patrons, this particular comment goes to the heart of the unconstitutionality of this proposal. And then you said that you were interested in speaking again to the Secretary of State?
Yeah, I placed a call. I haven't heard back from him yet. So I don't think it's going to go any better than it did before. And I read through the transcript of one of the other directors shared his call. And
but if he says, why don't people give me actionable responses?
Yeah.
Give him an actionable response.
Yeah. And and he doesn't, because one of my colleagues brought up just cut that out. He's like, well, I don't want to. the part about appealing to the prurient interest of any minor, which, the lawyer, from WashU pointed out was, vague and poorly written. Anyway, we'll keep trying on that. It doesn't seem like, we're seeing eye to eye with the Secretary of State on this one. He believes we're not acting in good faith. And that we're showboating. So.
If,
Sure.
yeah, it's us.
Yeah.
We started this. I would suggest that that you be aware that if there's anything that the board can do,
Mhm.
that we find out immediately so we can,
Yeah.
we want to go pick at his house. I don't. Okay, then let's move on to our action items. We now will have more action items concerning the renovation project. The first one is the request for payment from Ranieri for $515,346.78. Which, and you have the prevailing wage on that, or?
I received the certified payroll today, so I haven't had a chance to do anything more than print it today.
So if we approve, it would be subject to Patrick's approval of prevailing wage
Yeah.
information.
I move approval.
Okay,
I would like to second that.
okay. Motion has been made and seconded to approve this invoice subject to Patrick's approval of the prevailing wage information. Is there any discussion? Okay, Cindy, let's call the question.
Mark Barnes,
Aye.
Kim Dietzler,
Aye.
Aaron Ginsberg,
Aye.
Joan Greco Cohen,
Aye.
Latrice Johnson,
Aye.
Gerald Lander,
Aye.
Helen Nelling,
Aye.
Kathleen Simpson,
Aye.
and Cindy Zerwas, aye.
The motion passed, so that payment will be made. Now, the second item is, can you?
Oh,
scroll
sure,
back up?
sure.
Is the looking at the amount for the furniture. Using the executive,
Oh, you want to go to the furniture? I'm sorry.
yeah,
Great.
the executive furniture summary.
And can I just say that the Budget and Finance Committee, which met earlier, recommends this furniture summary based on the installation cost and itemized list of furniture.
And I believe Building and Grounds discussed it also.
Absolutely. We approved it too with those conditions.
Okay. May I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve.
Second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded to approve the expenditure for the furniture. As outlined on that page. Subject to a Patrick receiving an itemized list.
Which I'll share as soon as I get that,
Okay.
and then Carrie and I will go over that and make sure
Okay.
we approve it.
All right,
Okay.
is there any discussion? Okay, Cindy, could you call the question?
Mark Barnes,
Aye.
Kim Dietzler,
Aye.
Aaron Ginsberg,
Aye.
Joan Greco Cohen,
Aye.
Latrice Johnson,
Aye.
Gerald Lander,
Aye.
Helen Nelling,
Aye.
Kathleen Simpson, and Cindy Zerwas, aye.
The motion passes and furniture will be purchased. Then the third action item concerning the renovation is the demountable walls. Is that the way you said?
Yes.
Demountable walls. And this also has been budgeted. Can I have a motion to approve this? demountable walls expenditure.
I would like to make a motion that we approve this demountable walls expenditure.
Second,
Seconded.
okay. Motion has been made and seconded to approve the demountable walls expenditure. Any discussion? Okay, Cindy.
Mark Barnes,
Aye.
Kim Dietzler,
Aye.
Aaron Ginsberg,
Aye.
Joan Greco Cohen,
Aye.
Latrice Johnson,
Aye.
Gerald Lander,
Aye.
Helen Nelling,
Aye.
Kathleen Simpson,
Aye.
and Cindy Zerwas, aye.
The motion passes and we will get demountable walls.
And for anyone who didn't know or wasn't part of the earlier discussions, the demountable walls are the walls that are going in for the 3 new study rooms and the quiet study room downstairs. So this was part of the whole construction package. It's just something that Ranieri's not providing, that
Just moving
MBI
together.
is. It was in the budget for the project. Yeah, just a different vendor.
The next item, action item is selecting money market vehicle for the remaining funds. And there was discussion in the budget and finance meeting that there is very little difference between the 3 options, and that perhaps we could delegate that to Patrick. And how that would work would be Patrick would choose one, and then we will send around a consent to approve his choice. So could I get a motion to delegate to Patrick a selection to then to be approved by the board?
I would like to make that motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion has been made and seconded to delegate to the library director the selection of a money market investment vehicle, which will then be approved by the board. Is there any discussion?
I just like to point out that it's not, it will be limited to the 3 chosen by BOKF.
Yeah. Okay, if there's no further discussion, Cindy, can you call the roll?
Sure. Mark Barnes,
Aye.
Kim Dietzler,
Aye.
Aaron Ginsberg,
Aye.
Joan Greco Cohen,
Aye.
Latrice Johnson,
Aye.
Gerald Lander,
Aye.
Helen Nelling,
Aye.
Kathleen Simpson,
Aye.
and Cindy Zerwas, aye.
Okay. The motion is, has passed, and Patrick will make a selection, and then we will send around a consent to approve his selection. And that is all the action items we have. The next item on the agenda is the president's report. First of all, I would like to thank Gerald for stepping in last month. I was really sick. And for all of you for doing the work last month. And I thank you very much. Hoping that won't happen again. Also, Cindy and I are going to start talking about the director evaluation, which will be coming up in a month or so. So you might want to start thinking about that and how you will respond to the request for an evaluation on our director. I'd also like to thank Patrick and the staff for what I understand was a very nice Christmas party. I wasn't there either because I was out of town, but I understand everyone had a lovely time. So thank you for that. I really don't have anything else. So let's move to committee reports. Mark, Long-range planning.
Long-range planning, I finally have something again. Thank you so much. What I'm excited to report to the committee about is that I had a good meeting, very good meeting with Patrick, sort of talk about that long-range plan or the actions of the committee. And he shared with me the Missouri Public Library Standards, which was dated December of last year, December 2022. And I believe Patrick has included that in the last email packet to the board. And this what excites me about this this planning document is that it's a relevant tool that can be used in strategic planning. I mean, it has been compiled by a what I have read to be a very credentialed committee, and it really takes a great deal of the hard work away. I mean, it eliminates that in past efforts. Organizations do strategic planning, they have to sort of come up with some sort of standards that they're looking toward. And this has already been done. And so this is in addition to just having those standards, this is a what I would call a universally accepted common tool that can be judged against similar libraries. And and I sort of saw three themes that this document sort of targets: quality improvement, service improvement, and the elimination of barriers. And as part of that, it also gives shows off to the public our accountability and some assurance that we're on the right track and doing the right things. Now, with that, the way it's designed is that there are 8 categories, and each of those categories have 3 subcategories, and those are essential, enhanced, and exemplary. And with that, there's a note or a caveat that not all categories and tasks are applicable. That's a hard word to say at 6 o'clock in the evening. Applicable to every library. And an example of that is endowments. You know, those with large endowments and how we manage those endowments. And that, again, as we would look at this for us, we would just provide that as not applicable. And so the plan that I'd like to bring to the board and specifically to the planning committee, sort of a 10-point plan. The first part is to begin after we have returned to our renovated building, that we would ask the staff to take this document and provide a score. And concurrently, I would also ask that each board member to look at this and score, and for us to identify some key stakeholders and some high utilizers of the library to separately score. So we're looking at 3 different sets of scoring. And of course, I'm having that discussion. Well, do you get sort of more, you send this out to the general public? And I recommend that we not do that, because there are just some people who aren't familiar with all of the services here at the library, and that they would skew the data, and it would not give you an honest view that it would in fact we want stakeholders and high utilizers of our services, and that the library staff can help us identify who some of those individuals are. So after that's done, I'm going to ask our planning long-range planning committee to adjudicate some of the discrepancies from all of the respondents, so that we can identify, so we can find some common themes in all of those responses, and then take those categories, those essential, enhanced, and exemplary, and give them a grade. So as you would, just like a letter grade, like you would in school, so that those scoring in the 90s would get an A. This is in the 80s a B, and 70s a seat and so forth. And the reason for this is it just makes it easier for the general public. Everyone can understand an A grade, a B grade, and such. And so after we grade it, then it would be, so what's next? And what next would be for us to address all those scores that fall below an A for essential. So again, if it's an essential task, normally you would think we should be 100%. But if there are any that fall below that A average, then those should be addressed. For the enhanced, if we would address those that are at a B level or below. And for exemplary, we look for those that are at a C level or below. And I think this, again, we can't do everything. But by targeting, I think, those in those specific categories, that gives us a workable plan. And then after with that, we would rank order all of the tasks. You know, these are what are the ones that we have to do, and also what we in my business call a plan, which is a plan of action with milestones. And that is, these are the tasks, when do we expect to do them, who's going to do them, and how do we judge it, and by what time should these occur. And after that, we will over time, as we decide in these milestones, when we will review it again and then provide feedback as a subcommittee and also as a board. And with this, there is some additional work beyond that, and that is as looking for the help with adjudication and also scoring. And I talked to Patrick that there might be the possibility that this summer we might, if we are fortunate enough to get an intern, that we might be able to have that intern do this work for us. And if not, then we might look to see if there are any outside services. Again, this would be, we would have to look at the responses. I mean, again, everything's going to be universal, then it's not much work for them to do. We can all determine. But if there's some more discrepancies and other feedback that's going to require a lot more computation and consultation, then that's what we look for that outside. And so far, that is the report, pending your questions.
Just add that just today, they announced the release of the online sort of scoring thing for this. So you can just fill in the blanks and we'll score. Haven't had a chance to look at it yet and see if it works. But
Does anyone have questions for Mark about this?
Thank you.
I think this is a great approach. And
I agree.
yeah,
I agree. And you know, when I was on that committee and Edmund was chairing it, I struggled with this because I felt like I didn't have tools because I'm not that forward thinking. But this, it's not that it makes it easier, which it certainly does. To me, it pinpoints for us really the stuff that we need to focus on.
Absolutely. It gives you, again, going back to standards. Are you living up to the standards? Are you exceeding the standards? And in my business, there's what we call task conditions and standards. And those are the things that we guide our plan to long-range planning, right? It spells it out quite clearly. And as opposed to us trying to figure out, well, what's an unmet need here in our community? This, and because you will come up with all sorts of good and harebrained ideas. And so
I
again,
think this is great.
So this again guides us directly as to, are you meeting these specific needs? Are you doing these specific functions as a library? And then again, when we take this to the public, and we as we have to do, we present it to the public. Again, they have a tool that they have this document that provides real accountability that everyone can understand and appreciate.
I think this is great, and I see this as the next sort of big board project after we get back into our home.
Right.
This is what we can start concentrating on unless we're busy picketing somewhere. Okay, Cindy, personnel and policy.
I haven't discussed this with Patrick, but I assume that we will be meeting 2 weeks from today. Patrick, that would be.
I've been meaning to contact you and ask you that. Yeah, we're okay to go back on the fourth
Right.
Wednesday? Okay.
I chose for us, this committee, to not meet the last week of December because it was between Christmas and New Year's, and I thought people deserved to have some time off and have time with their families, and many people were traveling and the weather was terrible, and so now we're back to work, and so we'll have a meeting
We're looking on the 25th.
January 25th.
Okay. And
And Patrick, will you send out the details?
Yeah, we've got it listed as. Did I just end the meeting accidentally? I think I just ended the meeting.
no,
Oh, no, okay, everyone's still there. Okay, great.
2 week windows.
2:30 was what we were meeting at before. That was because of Mark's schedule at the time. So 2:30 or whatever time you'd like to meet. As a committee.
I'm flexible, whatever works best for the committee.
Okay.
2:30 works for me.
Okay,
Okay.
so we've got 2:30 for personnel and policy and then 3:30 for long range planning. Okay.
okay.
Okay, budget and finance is, Gerald, is there anything in addition to what we've already discussed through the meeting?
Well, I'm the,
Oh, I'm sorry, I do that every time.
It's
Aaron.
It's
budget and
okay. I
finance.
was last year.
Yeah, I know.
we,
Um,
everything that we covered in our budget and finance meeting, we have covered in today's board meeting. So there's nothing additional I can think of.
And Gerald, building and grounds, same question.
I would just ditto that same thing, that everything is, but Patrick and the board have discussed everything that we discussed in that meeting, and we brought forward all the things we needed to approve and vote on.
All right. Well, thank you all for your work. Is there any old business? Is there any new business? Is there any public comment?
We received none.
Okay. In that case, I have a motion to adjourn.
Make a
So-
motion to adjourn.
Okay. We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Have a
Thank
nice
you.
evening.
Thank you.